How is everyone doing today? It is September 20th of 2022 and we have another dwarf tomato we want to show everybody. We grow 7 dwarf tomatoes every single year. This year we grew the Barossa Moon, which we had a video on. We grew the Rosella Purple, which we did a video on. The Banana Toes, we did a video. We did a video on the Mocha's Cherry. The Golden Heart I've actually pulled out. We got a ton of tomatoes on it, but it was done producing, so I actually removed it to free up some space. And our very favorite, the Purple Heart, is just a bad show this year, so I probably won't do a video on it. But those are all of our dwarfs. One of them that we have grown for 3 years now and never gotten all the way is one called the Emerald Giant. And the Emerald Giant is a dwarf power plant that is created by the Dwarf Tomato Project of Established Seeds that comes from one called the Green Giant and some golden dwarf variety. So they crossed those two species, they grew them out repeatedly until they were getting the same type, creating established plants. And this one is actually has genetics that's one called the Green Giant. Like most tomatoes, these ones, or most green style tomatoes, these ones really do seem to be getting yellow when they're ripen, which is a big bonus to us. Some green varieties stay green, and so you can let them over ripen or actually get them off too early and they're harder to tell. But a lot of the green varieties will get yellow. So really excited to try this one. The other powerhouse green tomato that we grew this year we were excited about was the Cherokee Green, and it's hard to compete with that one, but having a dwarf plant, I think our problem the past few seasons getting this one to production is out of all the dwarf varieties that we've grown, which has to be around 15 to 20 by now, is not as strong as this. This is one of the tallest, strongest, fastest growing plants of all, but it takes forever to produce the tomatoes, and then once they produce, our season's so short that, you know what I mean? And then we also kind of mistreat our dwarf plants because they are really strong power plants. We can put them in bad spaces or in bad situations and know that they'll still do well and be disease resistant in those situations. That way we can fit more plants into our yard. Most of our yard is indeterminate heirlooms. So this one right here, being in a crowded situation, it's just a giant plant. Even in a larger style bucket, we did put 2 plants like that, like we do with our heirlooms in these giant buckets. But even doing that, this plant is just, I trimmed pounds and pounds and pounds of leaves off of this already, and branches and everything else like that. And so we got a couple more here that I might try to get to ripen. But we have these 2 that come off the plant right now, and we'll take them inside and take a look. This is the Dwarf Emerald Giant, September 20th of 2022. Catch you guys in a second. Alright, so this is the Dwarf Emerald Giant, another one of our dwarf plants from the Dwarf Tomato Project. I'll take this nicer one right here. They are a little bit soft. I can tell these are overdone, so these might have needed to be pulled off when they're green. Look at how dark the top is right there on that round layer. It's not so much on that one. That one's got quite a bit of splitting, but
this one probably was touching another tomato.
This one was touching one?
Yeah. So I kind of creased it and kept it dark there.
So this one is overripe. I can tell right off the bat how soft it is.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's emerald for sure. I've never had the Green Giant, which is supposed to be where most of the genetics of this one come from. We're definitely going to be able to save a ton of seeds. I don't know if I would recommend this as a grow for a small space. Haven't had the Aunt Rubies, but I imagine that this tastes like that. Haven't, from just what I've seen or heard of from other people. Haven't had the Green Giant, but I would imagine that this is what it tastes like. This is typical green tomato. This one reminds me of, there's one called the Wagner Blue Green. There's some other green types of tomatoes. It's almost a sour apple flavor. It's not super pucker power like some of the yellow tomatoes, like yellow pears and stuff like that. I'm gonna take a piece off this top part right here too. This one's super ripe too, so I'm guessing that it's got a little bit more of a punch. Yeah, let me let Angel give that one a try. It's really, really good. I wouldn't even compare it with the Cherokee Green though. The Cherokee Green has a more buttery, smooth flavor, or hard to explain. I really like green tomatoes, the ones that are green when they're ripe like this.
It is really good.
I wouldn't necessarily call them a snacker or slicer most times though. Like I'm saying, I haven't tried the Aunt Rubies or the Green Giant, but those are on my grow bucket list. So
I would say out of the two green, the Cherokee Green and this one, I like the Cherokee Green better. The flavor is more prominent and smooth. This one is still really good. It does have a good flavor. I mean, it's strong. Not as sour as I was expecting, but
it does have like a little bit of pucker, like a green apple kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a good tomato. I like it.
Yeah. And this is our grow. From what I've seen online, quite often it doesn't really have a lot of slicing meat inside of it for some reason. A lot of times when you see these bigger ones, and this may just be our situation too, and just the few pictures that I looked at online. But this is the Emerald Giant tomato, and it shares genetics with the Green Giant and another dwarf variety. It's a tomato from the Dwarf Tomato Project. It's our 6th one to get to production in a video, and we'll be able to save seeds off of this one. I'm not really excited to save seeds off of this one right here. We might just save off of this and see how many we got, because I'm trying to find the best tomatoes in the most prime situations and stuff, so that the genetics that I save from the seeds are, you know, a lot better. You don't want a wonky tomato. You don't want to save the seeds off of it necessarily, because it might produce a plant that's wonky. But this is a really good tomato. If you like green tomatoes, these are really, really good. I really want to start taking green tomatoes and cutting them up when they're underdone and putting them as like frying them, like fried green tomatoes, double greened.
Yeah.
Because I really like the flavor. When you fry up a green tomato or one similar to this one, it almost tastes like artichoke hearts. To me, that's what it kind of tastes like, and I can imagine that this one probably does too. Frying it up will kind of get rid of a little bit of the sour pucker. It's hard to say it's sour. It's like a sweet sour. It's not the same as the yellow tomatoes.
No, yeah.
But it is almost like a green apple. So there is like a sweetness to a green apple, but there's still like
sourness to it.
Yes,
too.
almost
almost like
sourness.
a golden delicious, where you get a little bit of sour and a lot of sweet.
Yeah, and it's not the sour you would get from an underdone green tomato. Yeah, you'd have to have a green tomato to kind of compare it to. And we haven't had a lot to compare it to, but I'm so excited to finally get this one in the yard. Like we were saying, this is our 3rd season with it. In the past couple seasons, we just put it with the rest of the dwarfs, which always end up in bad spots, but grow well. And this one just wants to have space. It's just out of all the dwarf tomato plants we've grown from the Dwarf Tomato Project, this one right here, it's a powerhouse plant. This plant wants to get 7 or 8 feet tall on us every single time. Giant branches. If you don't start cutting them back early, it just will grow plant constantly until the end of the season.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to get this one, and I think a lot of it had to do with me just cutting all that extra leaf off. But I'll take you guys out one side for one more second, and this is the Emerald Giant, the Dwarf Emerald Giant. Love you guys. All right, so I'll let these couple ripen right here. I probably won't save seeds off this one. I'll save seeds off that one though. This entire plant right here had the 2 tomatoes on it. That'll probably just come out. It's really just a stick at this point. But a really strong plant. I would recommend this grow if you are into the ripe green tomatoes. This one did yellow for us a little bit, so we probably should have gotten it off a tad bit earlier than we did. But still a really, really good tomato. If anybody's interested in growing this one thing I would definitely recommend is understand that the plant, even though it's from the Dwarf Tomato Project, is a beast. It's going to grow super strong, super tall. It's probably the biggest dwarf that I'd say, by quite a bit, by a couple feet, than the other big dwarfs that we've grown. So it's right here crowded in a corner. Still did well for us finally. I think it's been crowded there all 3 years, and this is the first time it's actually pushed out to this far. So really happy to get the seeds in the seed vault from this one. The Emerald Giant, the Dwarf Emerald Giant, September 20th of 2022. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.